Aloha and welcome back to Yama Studios. My name is Hannah Maruyama. I am a scalp micropigmentation practitioner at Yama Studios, which is a paramedical tattoo studio based in Honolulu, Hawaii. Today, I'm going to answer one of the most frequently asked local questions that I get about scalp micropigmentation, and that is, how do I take care of my scalp micropigmentation in Hawaii? Now, this is a fantastic question, and your aftercare for scalp micropigmentation, both short-term and long-term, is going to be slightly different because we live in Hawaii. In Hawaii, there are a lot more sunny days than there are other places. We also have a different climate, so it's a little bit more humid here, and also lifestyle-wise, people are a little more active. So that's going to affect how you are going to care for your SMP after you receive it. After each scalp micropigmentation appointment, there are 3, usually consecutive, 7 days, first appointment, 7 days, second appointment, 7 days, and then 7 days after your third appointment to heal completely. So in between those appointments, you're going to wait for a minimum of 4 days before sweating excessively. So that's going to be working out, going in saunas, doing anything that's going to cause you to sweat more than you normally would. Now, sweat can't damage healed scalp micropigmentation, but it can damage the scabs that are going to form on these really tiny tattoos while your scalp micropigmentation is healing. It's really important to protect these scabs because if you pull them off prematurely, they can actually pull out the pigment, which is really shallow and really delicate when it's healing. So it's important to protect these by not using shampoos with lots of alcohol, by not exfoliating your head during the 7-day healing process, and then on the 4th day, when you are able to go ahead and shampoo your head, it's important to use a baby shampoo, water, and then when you're drying your hair, to very carefully pat it dry so that you're not dislodging any scabs before they're ready to fall off. This is really just important for the first 4 days, again, to protect the scabs. Now, another point here is something that I speak about a lot, but that's UV exposure. Your scalp micropigmentation is the most fragile during the first 4 days of the 7-day healing period, and you want to protect your scalp from the sun, especially during the first 4 days, but preferably during the 7 days in between procedures. It's important to do this because you want your scalp micropigmentation to heal consistently, to heal quickly, and to look really, really good when it's done healing. And the best way to do this is to protect your scalp from outside environmental factors like the sun, and also to stay out of the water. Now, this is really for no other reason than that there can be bacteria in water that can get into your scalp. Now, your scalp micropigmentation is a really small wound. They're all really tiny, but it is a bunch of tiny wounds on your head, and you want to keep them clean, like anything else that's healing. And so getting into a lake, a pond, a pool, a sauna, a whirlpool, jacuzzi tub, or the ocean, you can be exposing your scalp to bacteria that can give you an infection. While that's really unlikely, it's something that's definitely worth staying out of those areas until such a time as your scalp is finished healing 7 days later. So basically, during this 3-week period, you should stay out of the sun as much as possible, not sweat excessively. So if you work out really hard, just do low impact or stretching and try to limit the amount that you're sweating because it is going to dislodge your scabs over time. And then also just to make sure you're staying out of places where bacteria grows. So that's another thing that factors into your 4 days without sweating excessively. If you go to the gym, just think about all of the germs that are on the gym equipment. To the best of people's ability, when you're wiping these things down, there's still germs that people transmit to each other, and you don't want them getting into your healing scalp. So just worth taking a break during the time when you're getting this done, just to make sure that you get the great result you're looking for. It's also really temporary. As soon as this is done, you can go back to living your life as you normally would. So that is basically how your scalp micropigmentation aftercare is going to matter in the short term. So long-term aftercare for people that live in Hawaii is really dependent on the activities that you end up doing. So if you tend to go out fishing for long periods of time, just take a hat along with you and apply sunscreen. If you're out hiking, the same thing applies. If you do that, you're going to get a lot more life out of your scalp micropigmentation, which is really the goal. This is a really good way to take care of your SMP and get more out of it for a longer period of time. So when you get out in the ocean, make sure that you do rinse your hair off, your head off with clean water, because you want to keep the salt off of your scalp, because when you're drying your scalp off with the salt, it can over exfoliate your scalp. And then the same is true for UV exposure when hiking or fishing or surfing or being out in the water. And as far as working out, you don't have to worry about the sun or anything if you're working out indoors. But if you're working out outside, you know the drill, hat and sunscreen. These are your new best friends. And really they're just good for all around care, but in Hawaii specifically, a lot of folks are very busy, we work 2 jobs, there's long commutes, and sometimes you can even be exposed to the sun in the car as you're driving. And that's something that you want to be cognizant of as well. So for people who live in Hawaii, it's really good to add to their daily routine an SPF. You don't need this in all parts of the world, but in Hawaii, we get sun most days. And so adding a moisturizer with a little bit of sunscreen in it into your daily morning routine is really good for people who live in Hawaii, because it'll help you even on those days when you don't actively prep for being outside, or if you last minute get called up to go to the beach. And that'll really help you just incorporate this care into your lifestyle without having to devote a lot of thought or effort to it. Normally, scalp micropigmentation lasts about 8 to 10 years. If you're rough on your SMP and you just live your life, don't apply sunscreen, don't wear hats, that's fine. It might just shorten the life of your SMP by a couple years, and that's really minor, all things considered. So if you do want to get a touch-up at some point, that's really not a big deal. So maybe I won't see you every 8 to 10 years. Maybe I'll see you every 5 years, and that's completely up to you. It's really about what you want and the result you want to get out of it. It's not going to make a huge difference. It can just really help extend the life. And that said, you can always get a touch-up if you want. Now, in Hawaii, a lot of us are really busy. People are working 2 jobs, they're going to the beach, they gotta pick up kids, they gotta pick up grandkids. We have a lot to do and a lot going on. That's something that's important here. You're taking care of your scalp micropigmentation shouldn't be a 3rd job. The whole point of it is to solve your worries, not to add more to it. So if you want to be rough on your scalp micropigmentation, be rough on your scalp micropigmentation. It doesn't really matter because it's going to last for years. These tips are just to prolong scalp micropigmentation for people who live in Hawaii. But that said, if you just go on and live your life, you can always get a touch-up if you want to make your look a little more bold or just extend the life of it a little bit. But the whole point of scalp micropigmentation is to help you have a lower maintenance solution and not to have to put so much work in. So live your life. One of the greatest things about scalp micropigmentation is that it's not like a traditional tattoo, in that it's not going to fade differently. It will fade mostly uniform. So it'll be hard to tell when it fades to anybody but you. So you really only have to worry about maintaining the result that you want for yourself, which is the beauty of it. So if you want to keep your fresh, out of the studio scalp micropigmentation look, then I highly suggest following these tips in a way to help extend the life of your SMP and help you keep that look longer. That said, if you don't, you can always come back because it's not going to fade in an ununiform way. And if you want to just punch up the color a little bit, it's really easy to do that. And it's not something you're going to have to actively worry about. A lot of people will say to me that the maintenance for SMP sounds like a lot. But actually, I think it's really important to address this and point out the fact that the entire point of scalp micropigmentation is to free you up, not to take up your time. It's supposed to work for you. You don't have to work for it. So when I make these suggestions about tips for optimizing your look, it's really just to help you lengthen the amount of time that your SMP looks like you just came out of the studio. That said, the whole point of it is to make it so you're not actively worrying about your scalp and caring for it and constantly trying to keep it a certain way. So it's really important that you take this with a grain of salt and realize that the point of scalp micropigmentation and the benefit of it, the main benefit of it really, is that now you don't have to think about it all the time. Scalp micropigmentation is supposed to solve your hair loss issues. It's not supposed to add another chore on the long list of things that you need to do. So we went over short-term care, which is essentially not sweating too much for 4 days, washing with baby shampoo on the 4th day of your recovery, and then also making sure that you stay out of the sun during those 7 days while you're healing. Long-term care is very similar. It's to avoid UV, protect your scalp from UV as much as you can, and then also just to make sure that you're putting on sunscreen or a hat when you go out. But as we went over, all of these things are optional because SMP is supposed to work for you. You're not supposed to work for it. Hopefully this answered your questions about how to take care of scalp micropigmentation in Hawaii. If you're in Hawaii and you're watching this video and this sounds like something you'd be interested in, I'd really like to talk to you. So please feel free to get in contact with me because I'd love to educate you about this service. We're super active here and super busy, and that's why this is a really great solution for people who live outdoors, work multiple jobs, or just live how we do here. So please go ahead and get in contact with me if this sounds interesting to you. I do free consultations and really love to share this with anyone who it can help. So thank you so much for watching, and aloha.